Can you hear me, Bill?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Not really. It's pretty soft.
No, I can't. Oh. Sorry about that. I had the wrong headphones on.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, it's amazing. You got too many headphones. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Art. Megan. Okay, well, we've got everybody here. Okay. And
this is Cindy. I just brought Louise home.
okay. Got Cindy and we've got Autumn. Or is it Karen? Is it
Karen? I changed my name. Autumn was my
Okay.
daughter who was the last one on Zoom.
Okay, okay, Karen. Okay, Sarah. Lucia. Okay, have I missed anybody?
How do I mute? I'm on my phone. How do I mute?
I think somewhere if you look at your picture or whatever, somewhere on there, there's going to be a mute button.
Yeah, I don't see that.
David Flores is present.
Oh, there you are, David. Okay. 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 Well, let me pull up my agenda.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to mute.
Bill, if you want to go ahead and mute her, if that would be helpful, Cindy.
Well,
That would be helpful.
do we know if she's going to want to make any comments?
Okay. Okay. I'll
No.
ask you that. You don't want to make any comments. You just want to listen.
Yes, just would like to listen.
Okay. Go ahead and mute her, Bill. That will make it easier for her. Karen, did you want to make any public comments or a comment about an agenda item?
No.
Okay. And Sarah Teal, did you want to make a public comment or a comment about an agenda item?
I'd like to make a public comment, but I don't have any comments regarding agenda items.
Okay. And Usha, did you want to make a public comment or a comment about an agenda item?
No, I don't have.
Okay. And David, did you want to make a public comment or a comment about an agenda item?
Just a public comment.
Okay. And it looks like somebody else is attempting to connect at the moment. So let's give them a couple other.
Catherine, you also have Matthew Whittington's on the line.
Okay. And hold on. Matt, did you want to make a public comment?
No, thank you.
Okay. And
Okay, a Burgess that just joined down there. I think that's
okay. Okay, Gerald.
Yes.
And did you want to make a public comment?
Yes, I want to make a public comment and then agenda comments of 4, 5, and 15.
4, 5, and 15. Okay. And okay, so Sarah, why don't we start with you? And we're going to have 2 minutes for public comments and then 2 minutes for each agenda item. Go ahead.
I am no longer going to make public comments in an effort to appeal to this board with facts, reason, laws, or stories that highlight the suffering their choices are bringing to the people in our neighborhood. These remarks appear to be useless at affecting any change in the prevailing attitudes of several of the current board members. At the last meeting, when board member Linda Fobb tried to explain the impactful life issues that allowing Sage Management to levy false deed fines and harass neighbors was causing, other directors laughed at her and at the pain of the neighbors they are supposed to represent. The video for that meeting on January 20th is not yet published for residents to see this happening at the end, but I would encourage anyone who lives in this neighborhood to watch it when it is published. As far-fetched as it seems that some of these directors would actually laugh at their constituents' pain, it sadly isn't the first time. Some of these same directors, along with deed enforcement contractors Jimmy and Diana Sagnas, also laughed and joked about barbecuing another resident's emotional support animal a few months back. If you need to see it to believe it, then you can watch the meeting video for September 14th, 2020 on the MUD's website at minute mark 1 hour and 45 minutes. Since these appeals appear to be fruitless, I won't waste time or energy on them anymore. What I am going to do is let the community know what reporting I have done and intend to do going forward. As has been documented on previous board meeting agendas, I did indeed report former board member Luis Zervigon to the Texas Ethics Commission for inappropriately using public funds for campaigning, for which he is currently under investigation. I actually brought the issue up in a meeting comment prior to my report, but he must have decided that my concern regarding its legality didn't matter, because he doubled down and did it even more. I did not speak about it publicly at the time because I did not want to improperly interfere in the election myself by mentioning an investigation that had not been concluded. Unfortunately, if the majority of this board insists on continuing to operate according to the established status quo and is unwilling to
Time. Thank you, Jimmy. I was on mute. Okay. Okay, so next we're going to go with David. You have 2 minutes for a public comment.
Appreciate it. Well, Sarah's 2 minutes kind of changed what I was going to say a little bit. We just had an election and the people have spoken and chose 2 new board directors. I think that our community needs to do the same change and elect new people. So Catherine is no longer president of the MUD. I believe that we just need all new people on the board so we can make proper decisions for this community, because the people that have been here on the board for a long time just do not care about their constituents. I believe that we need new vendors, Infomart being, to me, a horrible company that's here to milk us for all our money and make as much profit as possible off of us. Sage Management is one of the most horrible companies I've ever seen. It's just, we need all new vendors, all new board members, and so we can get things accomplished, because obviously the people that have been here the longest are holding up good change to our community and what our constituents want. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, and Gerald, you have 2 minutes for a public comment.
Okay. Do y'all hear me?
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead.
At a board meeting on September 16, 2020, Director Fobb stated in her public comments that she had forwarded documents to Representative John Boosie's office with regards to Sage Management. She stated the documents supported her accusations against Sage Management of illegal behavior, and she requested John Boosie's office to forward these documents to Texas Attorney General's office. I received a call on Tuesday, January the 26th, from Representative Boosie's office. I spoke to a woman named Sarah. She stated that Representative Boosie's office could not forward the documents to the Texas Attorney General's office. Instead, these documents were forwarded to the appropriate local authorities, who, after receiving them, I gotta take a deep breath, refused to take any legal actions against Sage Management. Representative Boosie's office has confirmed to me that no legal actions have been taken against Sage Management based on the documents sent by Director Fobb. MUD directors are not attorney generals, district attorneys, prosecuting attorneys, private attorneys, judges, or jurors. The board of director meetings are not trials. No one can receive due process by being prosecuted by WCD #1 board member or director, and board directors do not have that authority. That's all for the public comment.
Okay, and you also want to make a public comment, a comment about agenda item 4.
Correct. So are the responsibilities and duties of the audit committee posted on the board's website? It is my understanding that the audit committee's purpose is to assist the outside accounting firm who is conducting the annual audit. The audit committee is not responsible for performing internal audits of the MUD's operations, including looking for fraud. Audit committee members should not be doing internal audits because these audits are not part of the scope of the committee. The engagement letter from the outside accounting firm does not state that part of their job is to ferret out fraud, but only to make management aware of such instances if uncovered. Maybe the engagement letter from the outside accounting firm should be made public. That's it before.
Okay, and you want to make a comment about agenda item 5?
Yes. So after discovering a mistake on a vendor's invoice, why wouldn't one pick up the phone, call the vendor, tell them they had improperly coded invoice? Please ask them to fax or send a corrected copy of the invoice so the MUD would not have to embarrass them or shame them, the vendor, at a public meeting in front of the public because they had incorrectly coded or incorrectly put the wrong invoice number or account number on the invoice. Is it grandstanding, self-promotion, gotcha that motivates this behavior? Surely it wasn't decency, professionalism, cooperation, politeness, and respectfulness that motivated this behavior. That's it.
Okay, and you have a comment about agenda item 15.
Right. So if a property is defined by if a property is fined for deed restriction violations, but another property is not fined for the same violation, the collections of the fines on the former is not dependent on the latter. For example, I witnessed during my work shift vehicles running stop signs all the time in a four-way stop. Some of these vehicles have run the same stop sign hundreds of times over the past 9 years and have never received a traffic citation. Once in a while, Winston County sheriffs will stop a vehicle and issue a citation for running the stop signs. By using some logic of some board directors regarding the policy of collecting and issuing fines for deed restriction violation, the Williamson County Sheriff's Officer could not issue a traffic citation to the car that just ran the stop sign because he has failed to catch all the other vehicles who ran the same stop sign. Thus, this logic would mean no rules could ever be enforced because someone is always getting away with the violation of a rule of law that someone else was caught violating. In addition, those who receive and don't receive fines may require some degree of discretion. Most things in life are not absolute. Officer Alec of the DPS pointed out discretion is part of the tools given to the authority in order to do them, in order to make their jobs more fair. During my career, my coaching career, my high school football officiating career, and my enforcement of financial and law and policy career, I found the use of discretion a valuable tool to do my jobs effectively and fairly. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Okay, so at this point, I am going to close. Okay, we haven't had anybody pop in while we've had our public comment section, have we? Okay.
No.
Okay, so I am going to close the public comment section of this meeting. And I believe, Bill, you were going to make a comment before we jump into the agenda.
Yes. I want to make some general comments and recommendations based on my capacity as general counsel for the district. We have several new board members that have been on the board a short time. And we have 2 board members that have been on quite a while, but we lost a lot of long-term board members very quickly. And so I think some comments are appropriate. First of all, I will always try to treat every director with respect, regardless of their position on any issue. I will always try to provide equal information to every director and access to documents to every director, so long as the interests of that particular director are not adverse to the district. And I will always try to do that. However, I've observed some things, recent meetings, circumstances I'd like to comment on. And I'd like to make it clear who I represent. So I am an attorney that represents the district, Williamson Travis County's MUD number 1. It's a political subdivision. It's an entity separate from the board, separate from the residents. So my loyalty, my duty is to the district. The board manages the district. The board makes decisions for the district. And you do that by voting. And you have to have at least 3 directors vote yes to adopt a resolution, motion, order. But after it's adopted, it's a district decision. And those are the decisions that I'm obligated to protect and honor. Board members should also respect approved decisions by the board members who have voted for it, because it is a district interest in fulfilling those orders, obligations, decisions, whether it be in an adverse circumstance or just a routine circumstance. That doesn't mean a board member couldn't criticize it as to maybe we should make a change. That's not what I'm saying. But no board member should seek to undermine a prior decision that was duly adopted or try to endanger the district's interests or create liability. So again, I want to repeat that my client is the district. So I have an obligation to protect the interests of the district. In the cases of claims or litigation, my goal is to have the best result, best ever result for the district. So I want to make some recommendations based on observation. These are recommendations. First, I recommend that board members and consultants should refrain from identifying specific residents by name or exact address unless absolutely necessary. There'll be times when we have to do that, but unless it's absolutely necessary, do not do that. If you have a question as to whether you should or shouldn't, you probably need to ask me. Board members and consultants should not discuss a resident's personal financial situation, family situation, or health unless absolutely needed for discussion and decision on a specific matter. We're going to have instances where we might have to talk about the health of a resident. For example, in connection with emotional support animals and that discussion, but only if it's absolutely necessary for the decision. Otherwise, we need to preserve any confidential information or privacy issues of those residents. If we don't do that, we could have possible liability of district. Plus, it's just not fair to your residents. Board members should not make statements that will assist or guide a person to challenge a lawsuit filed by the district or violate a previously approved rule or decision of the district. This may expose the district to liability and possible adverse decisions in the action. Coaching people how to win a lawsuit or coaching people how to make a claim against the district are not actions the board members should engage in. And when that does occur, if that does occur, then I have a duty as the attorney for the district to protect the interests of the district. Finally, again, a recommendation. Directors should respect each other and conduct an orderly meeting. Directors should not make disparaging remarks to each other when there are disagreements. These types of actions do not serve the interests of the district. Respectful disagreement does benefit the interests of the district, so that the board makes the best decision. So I'm not recommending you don't disagree. I'm not recommending you don't have strong discussions, but try to be respectful. It'll provide for a better meeting and ultimately a better decision with less expense and time. And with that, I'm going to end my recommendations.
Okay, so there's no action item with your recommendations, correct?
That's correct. Catherine, we have, we'll have an agenda item. We'll discuss some more specifics related to what I said later in the meeting.
Okay. Okay, so let's move along to agenda item 2, report from the district landscape contractor, landscape maintenance. And I do not believe we have a landscape contractor with us. Am I correct?
I don't see one. Catherine,
No.
after this item, did you want to go into executive session?
Oh, that's right. That's right. We agreed. We're going to do, we have 2 executive sessions that we need to do tonight. And we are going to do the executive sessions at the front end of the meeting and get them over with. And then we will come back into the open session. So we are going to.
Yeah, Catherine, let me explain for everyone, because we haven't gone into executive session with the new board members, and we're actually doing something, well, I won't say extraordinary, unusual, but unusual. So the first executive session we're going to conduct, and I'll have you read the announcement after I finish explaining the process, Catherine, but the first executive session will be on items 11 and 20. And we will include all the directors except for Director Linda Fobb, because she is the plaintiff in that subject lawsuit. So we're calling that executive session A. So we're going to have to go through the process of Catherine making an announcement. This meeting will still be present here for spectators or any other people in the meeting. The directors will leave this meeting. You'll have to actually leave it. And I'll send an invite to the executive session. You'll have to log on that. The recording of this meeting will be paused during the executive session, but it will still be here. The meeting, we won't cut other people off the meeting. After that first executive session A, will return, the board directors will return to this meeting. You'll have to go back and log into this meeting. I know Art and Catherine, you've done it before. You log back into this meeting. Catherine will have to make an announcement. We'll come back, and then we'll have to do the same thing, but into an executive session B, which will be for all the directors on items 15 through 19. And then again, this meeting will still be here. We'll have our executive session. We'll come back to this meeting, and then we'll resume the rest of the agenda. So do any of the directors, especially new directors, have any questions how we're going to do that?
I do have a question. I do have a question for you, Bill. I certainly understand why I wouldn't be invited to number 20, but number 11, I'm not the only one that has an interest here. There are 3 other members of this board that have an interest in the outcome of that resolution. Why would they be allowed to attend and not me?
Okay. First of all, I don't think that is actually true. And they're not plaintiffs in the lawsuit. The interests you're referring to are related to the neighborhood association. Mm-hmm. And I believe I have confirmed that Megan, Beth, and Catherine, I think I've confirmed that none of you are on the board of directors of the neighborhood association. Right. Could you unmute yourself, Beth? And Beth, you're muted. Okay. So let me go one by one just to confirm. Beth, are you at present on the board of directors of the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association?
I am not.
Are you on the Architectural Control Committee for the Neighborhood Association for Andersonville
No.
West? Okay. Megan, same questions. Are you on the board or the ACC?
Neither.
Okay. And Catherine, same questions.
Correct. I have resigned from the neighborhood association and the ACC.
The board and the ACC?
Yep.
Yes. So Linda, none of those persons are on the board or the ACC. So I've determined they don't have the type of conflict that you have.
I hear you, Bill, and I respect that. However, when I filed my lawsuit, they were all members active on the Amwana Neighborhood Association and Catherine on the ACC. Their names are all over the contract. Their names are on the invoices.
But Linda, they're not parties to the suit.
Okay.
Okay. And in my legal opinion, they're not to be excluded from the executive session.
And in your legal opinion, then they have no interest in the outcome of that
Well,
resolution?
They never had a personal financial interest, even in their positions. And now they have no official governing position in those organizations. So I think maybe they might have an interest in that they would like a certain income personally, but it doesn't relate to a conflict of interest that would rise to excluding them, in my opinion.
In your opinion? Okay.
Okay, so are you
Other-
ready?
I don't have a personal financial interest either, because my lawsuit doesn't have a financial gain for me.
Well,
If it's
again,
about financial interest, I don't have a financial interest.
you have an interest in the lawsuit that may result in an adverse outcome to you. It might be financial. And that unless you have a specific question you want me to answer at this meeting, you have separate counsel on your lawsuit. I don't represent you on the lawsuit,
That's right.
but I mean, there is the potential in a lawsuit of that type that there could be a financial judgment. It would be in the form, in this case, of attorney fees and court costs.
All right.
Okay,
I'll
so
check
Bill,
with my counsel.
Bill, are you ready for
That's what I
me?
reckon.
Are
All
you
right, so Catherine, yes,
you
if
ready
you could read the announcement
Okay,
related to items 11 and 20.
okay. The Board of Directors will now go into closed session for consultation with the district's attorney pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code regarding agenda items 11 and 20.
Okay, so I will be sending an invite to the 4 directors. If you could leave this meeting, look for that invite, and then join me in the executive session.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead, Catherine.
The Board of Directors has concluded its closed session and is returning to the open meeting. No action was taken during the closed session. Okay, can I start the next one?
Yes.
Okay,
So you're going to make another announcement?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. The Board of Directors will now go into closed session for consultation with the district attorney pursuant to section 551.071 and the government code regarding agenda items 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19.
And
Okay.
this will be all directors. And so I'll be sending an invite. You have to leave this meeting
Okay,
and go to the one in the invite, and I will see you in the executive session. And for the persons online, we will keep this meeting going and return to it after the executive session. Okay, we're back, and you can go ahead and make the announcement, Catherine.
okay. Okay, the Board of Directors has concluded its closed session and is returning to the open session. No action was taken during the closed session. So now we are going to jump to agenda item 3, report from the Parks Committee. So we've got a couple of standing agenda items. We've got park rules and park and pond rules. Was there anything on those 2 agenda items that needed to be discussed, Megan and Beth?
Not at this time. Nothing. On this.
Okay. And we also have agenda item 3C, all matters related to the district parks, fields, and office buildings.
Yep, nothing on that either.
Okay, D, contracts with Verdunity Inc. for professional consultation services. Where do we stand on that?
So the hope was to be able to have that on the agenda tonight, which is why it is on the agenda for tonight. But we just, in working with Bill, going through that, and then also talking with Virginity, we just didn't have it quite where it was ready to be presented to the board yet.
So Megan, what do you want to put it on the February 3 agenda for next week, or do you want to wait until the regular February meeting?
I think I'd rather not rush it at this point. So yeah, the regular, if we can have it on the regular February meeting.
Okay, but not, see, part of tonight, we'll have to determine what goes on at February 3. That's why I'm asking. So Catherine, just by explanation, or reminding everyone, we are trying to reformat our agendas because everybody believed that our giant standing item agenda, so many items, was not working. So we had a meeting, the DRC meeting was mostly all DRC items. It's still a lot. Our meeting, last meeting being our regular meeting, was limited to engineer, infrastructure, manager's report, financials, and then just minutes and maybe any urgent items. That's what that agenda is for. So this agenda is for, I don't want to say everything else because that makes it sound like just put everything on it. It's for primarily for the committees to come to the board with items that are ready for action if they have action items. So actually some of the committees are not on here. Art asked me if the management committee review of contracts, it's not on here, so we can't do it tonight. One problem with eliminating the standing items is if there's something to talk about and it's not on the agenda or decide we can't do it. So 3D, the contract with Verdunity, was placed on here because we had believed it might be done in time. So we wanted to do that as a goal and it's not practical. And then on the next item, when you call the next item, Catherine,
Okay.
might be a similar report.
Okay, so 3E, proposals from the certified arborists.
Yeah, that's a similar situation where, the hope was and the thought was that we could get what we needed in time for this meeting, and they're
Not
just
make,
still.
yeah. So the plan, so you want to put it on the regular board meeting for February then?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's another, so we have this weird sort of fourth Wednesday meeting now for committee stuff, but my hope is that with both of these items, they can be on the February 17th agenda.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
the 17th is that's our
main board meeting.
Well,
Well, I mean, the first board meeting, how about that?
well, the first meeting is the DRC.
Right.
And then the second meeting was limited to engineer, infrastructure, manager, and important items of time-sensitive items. Are you saying, Megan, that you want it on that agenda? Or
yes,
the next Wednesday agenda like this meeting?
The 17th for Verdunity, the 17th, because that's what we agreed on. And for the arborist, I mean, we could, I mean, I don't want to totally clog up the 17th agenda again.
Yeah.
So
do you have proposals from an arborist? Do you have arborist?
We have one, and then we have another one that they're still working on it.
I would like to suggest that we push it to the second board meeting. We'll do
the arborist at the second board.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fine.
So
Okay.
the meeting we're having now is in February, right?
Yes.
It's the third meeting.
Right.
Yeah. So whatever. So So the 17th is the engineer report, that meeting.
Right. And that's where Verdunity will be.
Yes.
Yes.
And then whatever what's the fourth Wednesday, the 24th?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
the 24th. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, arborist for the 24th. Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
That's fine. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item 4, report from the audit committee, update on the progress of the annual audit.
I asked for that, Catherine, but
Yes.
I have decided to hold that until the audit meeting, if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine. So, okay, yeah, so we knew that wasn't going to be ready tonight. Okay.
No, I wasn't prepared to even present the audit results. I had another idea and I still have that idea, but I am going to hold that until the audit is released.
Okay.
So Catherine, right now, we have a fourth meeting, February 3 is a special meeting primarily for the audit.
Right.
And we might have some other things that we decide to put on that. I think there have been some suggested perhaps. The timing is such that I really need to know early tomorrow, what goes on that February 3 agenda so I can post it. But that's when the audit will be considered. I've been told by the auditor that should be enough time to do it. So they're comfortable with that date. They're available for that date. And it becomes, now we're in an important stage because there actually is a deadline for filing the audit that's going to be coming up in February. So again, everyone that is thinking they have some kind of agenda items that really have to be addressed on February 3, so let me know, okay?
Okay.
If we don't talk about it tonight.
Okay, so let me ask some procedural questions about how the audit is going to be done via Zoom. Because in the past, when we were having this meeting, in person, the auditor, the person making the presenter, he passed out the final audit pamphlet. Is that something that's going to be available prior to the meeting that we can go pick up a copy of at 1000 Old Mill or something like that?
So I guess that could be arranged. The way the audits are being presented this year, we've had a couple for other districts, is we included as an attachment to the invite in the draft. The draft audit, the audit's not final until you get to the meeting, and there could be some modest changes, but the draft audit is provided by the auditor prior to the meeting, and we attach it like we do all these other documents and put it on the website. So you'll have a digital copy of it before the meeting.
Oh, okay.
And, on all these documents, I try to send them out as soon as they're available. So that one certainly I would try to get out with the invite as soon as I could and get them posted on the website.
Okay.
And then the auditor will go through it just like they do in person. We'll go through and summarize it and let you ask questions and go through the content of the audit. And I guess if we need someone to screen share at that time, we could. But if you really would like a paper copy, I guess.
No, I don't necessarily. I didn't know how the whole process was going to work.
Yeah, they realize they have to have it in advance of the meeting.
Okay.
And especially because you have new board members, they want to be sure there's plenty of time to review it. So.
Okay. Okay.
And Catherine, just for your information, the lady that's doing the audit reached out today and asked to meet with Megan and I on Monday to review. I guess they're close to being done to review it. And then also that she said they would send a draft audit to us on Friday.
Oh, so you're going to get the draft on Friday in preparation for your meeting on Monday.
That's what it seemed like to me. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. It seems to be moving forward efficiently then. Okay. Okay. So is there any more on the audit committee? Okay. Agenda item 5, report from the Bills and Invoice Committee. And I think there was an attachment for this, wasn't there?
Yeah, so the attachments that I've attached to the invite on the website, one is the draft new form that I guess Megan and/or Linda had proposed. It has more detail. And then I also attached behind that a form that is being used by another district that I represent that I believe is an improvement, not necessarily legally improved, but better form than you've been using, but less complicated than what Megan had. So I think I'm not going to speak for the committee, but that's the attachments that I did provide are those two forms.
Okay. So, okay, I guess I know, Megan, that you've done a lot of work on coming up with this form, so I guess I'll just turn it up to you, turn it over to you then.
Yeah, and do you guys all have it in front of you? Because if I'm just sort of,
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Is everybody else looking at it, or do we need to screen share?
I'm not looking, I don't have access. I'm right here. Can you screen share it?
Yeah, can you? Because which meeting notices was it? I know.
I guess it's going to be
don't-
attached to the agenda.
Yeah.
On the MUD site. I guess I can go there.
Well, it's also it's part of the invite. It's in
Part of the invite. Yeah.
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 Megan, if you can screen share it, that would be probably the easiest way.
Okay, let me grab the file real quick because the version that was shared, it was a little bit hard to see the boxes.
What agenda item are we on?
It's 5.
Oh,
Well,
5A.
5A.
Yeah.
5A. I see it. I got it. Okay, I found it.
5A? Oh, okay, then I did find it. Hold on.
Wait, no, I'm getting there. Sorry. Okay, share screen. Let's see. Okay.
There you go.
See that? Okay. Okay. So, so this came out of our discussion about, well, we've discussed multiple times now. I don't know what I just did. What's that? It's kind the guidance on what to put on a per diem form is kind of a little bit nebulous, and everyone's sort of adding different levels of detail, and I like to sort of have the rules right in front of me so that I'm not constantly going, well, am I doing this right? Or does this count? So my thought was that rather than sort of go through this like one-time discussion as a board about how, about filling out the form, and, that then sort of gets lost to time, that maybe if we just had a form that, had the piece of law right there with the relevant information, so that every month, if I forget, it's like right in front of my face, and I can remind myself and I don't need to go search for anything. And also, the issue is I, appreciate that we have board members who've been doing this for a long time and this is just no big deal. But since I'm new, when I joined, I was like, I don't know what I should put and what I shouldn't put. And so maybe down the road, if we had a form like this that was more detailed, someday when someone else gets elected, it's more descriptive and helpful guidance. So in addition to having the law, the relevant piece of statute up at the top, then it's just more, it gives some kind of guidance about what information to include. So, certainly the meeting date, and then just a general description of what the meeting was. And then the name of other meeting participants, which, I don't know that it needs to be every single person who, but, the board was there, et cetera. Or if it's a committee meeting, who else was at the committee meeting? And then just general, kind of like, what was the general business that was discussed? And, the meeting ones are pretty straightforward, I think. The harder ones to document are things that if you feel like you did something that isn't strictly a committee meeting or a board meeting, but that you feel meets the statutory requirements for, for getting fees. So the second piece of the form is if you're documenting something other than a meeting. And so then it would be, what was the date? What were you doing? Who else was there? Because if it's just you, it's harder to kind of say that you are, engaged in district business. And then just an explanation of why you think that meets the statutory requirements. So, you know, not intended to write like a novel for everything, but just kind of some really basic description of what you were doing and who was there. And then the original form was missing this box, total number of fees requested, but you know, I think it was a good, several people suggested that, and I think that's important because we might document something that we're not actually asking for reimbursement for. So just having that label at the top to say what we're actually asking for is helpful. And I did actually figure out how to get it into fillable form. So
Oh, you had the ability to create a fillable form.
I downloaded Adobe Acrobat, yeah, to do and figured out how to do that. So,
okay,
yeah. So, but you know, open to discussion and comments and what you all think about this.
I like it. I like it very much.
So, so you're trying. So basically, what I'm seeing here is you're basically breaking up meetings versus other activities. And I guess I'm sort of curious as to what the other activities are. Well, I guess I guess that could be a going to a conference.
Yeah.
Or the tree tour where she went by herself.
Mm-hmm. I met with Scott to do the tree tour, so I put that as, you know.
Okay.
Any significant business, Catherine, that benefits the district could go on that second sheet. This first one's for meetings.
Okay. Well, I guess
I have a question. So the first one is just the total amount for the regular board meetings, or all the meeting descriptions, including the committee meetings and the board meetings on that
Anything
table
you want to
below?
be reimbursed on, your number, what you think you need to be reimbursed for.
Yeah, everything, which I could clarify that if that would be helpful, like total number of fees, you know, parentheses, both, you know, meetings and non-meetings if
I mean, how detailed does it need to be for general topics discussed? Can you just put your committee? I mean, do we really have to put everything that we talked about on there?
Well, when I filled it out for this last month to kind of test it, I you know, if it was on our committee meeting agenda, I put it, you know, basically just an overview. What are the major things that we discussed at the meeting? And I don't know, maybe this is right. I don't know. For this last month when I was testing it for the board meetings, I just put C minutes and meeting recording because
yeah, well, you're right. Yeah.
And it's all public and it's all recorded and documented and whatever. So someone wants to know what we discussed at the board meeting, that documentation is there.
So I have a couple comments perhaps that might improve it. First of all, there's nowhere on this form that I see where you could submit expenses.
Oh yeah, there was mileage expense that was on the,
or any kind of reimbursement expense. So you'd either need, I guess, another form or add to it. Secondly, if it's a board meeting, whether regular or special, the date and the fact it was a board meeting, I don't think you really need to name the participants or the topics, because that's easily verifiable that there was a meeting and the person was there or not there.
Right.
I don't know that we need to go through this gyration of saying, you know, see video or see minutes or anything like that. So it really is not, I don't think, relevant to your decision as to whether it's a valid submission as to on a board meeting. I don't know that those are important or should be mandated, because you're going to get really general answers anyway. If it's a committee meeting, I think you should have to specify the date and the committee that was meeting and the participants. I think you probably ought to say that, because I've had a couple committee meetings where I was a participant, and that might be helpful to determining if it's a valid request. The topics discussed, I think that probably should be optional on a committee meeting.
I think that too, because isn't that a quorum if we put all that on there?
No, it's not. This report would not be constituting a quorum. But I would, for my comment is that perhaps for meetings of the board and committee meetings, that you don't need as much information. Now, when you get to other events, like your second part, and you're asking for descriptions, there that probably would be useful because those are going to be events that are not directly related to the type of district business necessarily that you would get reimbursed for. So I think there where it's not a meeting, it's not a committee meeting, it's not a board meeting, that having this information would be very helpful. The explanation why it merits reimbursement might be a little tricky for some people because you're asking them to read the statute and explain, but it probably would be helpful in cases where it's not really self-evident from what they provided to you.
Okay, so if you scroll back up at the top, Megan, you've got the total number of fees requested. Now, it's very common for me to, list 8 things and just say, please, I write at the bottom, please reimburse for. So I'm trying, this represents just what I want to be requested, even though I'm documenting appropriately for more than that. Is that what is that how we're going to handle this? That's where we would handle that?
Yes, it says total number of fees requested.
Okay, so Bill, I know if you scroll down to the bottom, you've got another form there that's sort of the same thing that looks like a nicer version of what we're doing now. But does your version have anything about how to handle other expense requests?
What the other version that I provided?
Yeah. Didn't you? Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring it up. Give me a second. So I'm gonna try to do the screen share so that works. All right, so it's this one. Can you see a form now?
Not yet. There it is.
There it comes.
So I took out the name of the district, but this is a district that we represent, has this form. And so it's got your name at the top. It's got the date of service and description and amount requested. But this is also applicable to expenses. So in this district, and this is something the accountant liked, was you had the description, the dates, the amount requested. So instead of saying a fee, you would put in your 150. If it was an expense reimbursement, you would put the amount of the expense. And then he has a check number over here so that he can actually put what check paid that particular amount.
Okay.
The total's $1, and then you have your verification. So I think the form we're working on does need to have a provision for expense reimbursement. And you probably need, if you're going to specify, per amount of per diems, you probably ought to also say the dollar amount, or either, or just say the dollar amount.
Okay, so it's been a long time since I've done it. What is the process for mileage? It's so much per mile, and isn't there shouldn't we include that in the form?
Probably.
Probably,
but there's some other provisions. There are some other provisions in our applicable document that limits what mileage you can claim.
Right.
Discussed that before.
Well, the only mileage that I've ever claimed was driving to conferences that were out of town. So.
And Catherine, that form is real specific. It gives you starting mileage, ending mileage. It's very, very specific, but it's really unique to travel. Right.
So, well, see, that was my question. Does that need to be, just part of this form? Just one at the bottom. That's really.
I think it's so rarely used that when the time comes that somebody needs it, I think Michael has it. Michael Luft.
Well, that's sort of part of my concern is that, you know, if you're going to fill it out properly, you need to have your beginning and ending mileage, et cetera, which means we need to be, you know, pinged all the time that we need to be paying attention to that. That's all. That was the only reason I'm saying is if it's just at the bottom and yeah, I don't need to worry about it, but you see it. So that you can just remember, I need to record what my starting and ending mileage was. That's
Well,
really
what about if you're driving to Bill's office or you're driving to Infomart or you're driving, you know, stuff like that?
so. Okay. Okay.
Megan,
So
you're muted. You're muted, Megan.
I do think in the interest of, if we're redoing the form, we might as well redo it, you know, in its
yes.
entirety. So, you know,
Yes.
I would just, and I'm happy to make those adjustments. I would just need, maybe I can get that information from Michael, or because I want to make
Right.
sure it's written
Well,
correct.
and is he on the? He's not on the call. So I don't know. You know, if it's important to him that he wants to have another column for the check number. If that is something that's helpful to him, I'll let him make that. You know, decide whether or not that's another piece of information that he wants to track.
He usually
And isn't
writes that on the bottom of the director fees sheets. He usually writes the number he pays, and then usually the check number is handwritten by him.
Oh,
And then
so
Megan,
you're
can't
okay.
Infomart help you? Because isn't this their job too?
Help me update it, you mean?
With the forms and stuff.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know that that's really what they do, I think. So they can do that. That'll take something off of you.
Yeah.
Put it on Google Drive.
I mean, adding a column or removing
I
a column,
agree.
you know, definitely not, you know, that'll take me 3 seconds. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the reimbursement stuff yet, so can't really speak to how complicated that would be, but I doubt that now that the form has, you know, it's been formatted and it exists, it's probably pretty easy to add.
So adding rows and columns at this point is the easy part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you all feel? Bill had the suggestion that we don't necessarily need meeting description for meetings or description.
Well, I'm definitely for board meetings. You know, the ones where they're all in a quorum, definitely. I don't think there's any reason to be worrying about that. And I'm going to be quite honest. I'm not going to write a novel about recording that I had a customer service or a security meeting. But you know, I'll fill out whatever the board deems is the appropriate form that we want to start using. Once we get all the details nailed down, it's like, you know, I will fill out the form.
Ditto. You tell us what you want. We'll fill it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys tell me, because
Okay.
I can change it however you want me to change it.
I don't think it needs a novel detail. I think it
No.
needs, like, I went on a tree tour to look for dead trees, or
Yeah.
I met with the auditor to discuss the audit. You know, it doesn't need to be great detail, just some
agree.
indication so that when we're trying to match it up, if it's a committee thing, we can tell that they were at the same meeting.
Right.
Yeah, and putting every single person that was on that committee meeting, because we've got people from other offices on there. I mean, oh my gosh, we have to put everybody on there?
Well, a committee is usually 2 people. You might invite.
No, I'm talking
somebody
about
like
you've got,
her.
you may have somebody from Infomart on there. You may have, you know, just
Yeah,
different
there's not
people.
usually a bunch. I mean, I'm thinking it's probably never more than 4.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what do we want?
Let me just clarify something here. So the dumb question for me is, the board meetings, the standard code, the ones where they're public, we're just going to put the total amounts that were on there, correct? That's the total fees requested, which will include all your periodic meetings or your monthly meetings, right? And then anything that you had like some type of meeting that where you like Linda mentioned, going out to look for dead trees or something like that. Correct?
Well, that was something very unique that she did, that consumed time. She met with the contractor. She actually did
Right,
work for the
right.
district. She needs to be able to log it. But more like Art, when we did a committee meeting with Waste Management, that's
Right.
real simple. We met with Waste Management. His name was Paul. We talked about all
Yeah.
the things, whatever you want to write.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand, but that's what
it's
will
just-
go
it's just
down
real
under the
clear for
column,
the
correct?
reviewer.
Just that?
Yeah, it doesn't need detail. It just needs to be clear to the person looking
Sure,
at it that,
sure.
oh, it was a committee meeting and here's the participants and this is what they did.
That's
And
fine
it
with me.
matches this guy over here who went to the same meeting, makes it easier to reconcile.
I agree. That's fine. So it's just those types of meetings that you want.
Yeah,
in the
general
column,
board
correct?
meeting and the DRC meeting and now this third meeting and the audit meeting, those are all recorded. There are minutes for those meetings. You don't need to describe who was our participant or what you talked about. There's other documents that will substantiate those meetings.
Okay, so you just want the
Okay.
total amounts for those.
Okay,
Okay.
so then y'all are saying we should remove the meeting topics, I can't remember what it said, the third and fourth column of,
I would think for board meetings that you don't really need that. And people are just gonna say, see recording anyway.
See minutes.
So on board meetings, I don't think you need the right to columns. I don't think that really adds anything for you.
But you know something, Megan, you don't need to adjust this form. People just don't need to fill in those boxes.
Well,
Yeah.
and, okay, so you could say optional on it so that they
Okay.
know they don't have to fill it out.
For the board meetings and
Yes.
the DRC and those, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
I agree,
But-
that's good.
Okay.
but for committee meetings,
For committee meetings, you're probably gonna, it sounds like we agree that we should have, put the name of the, other participants.
Yeah, and a general description of what it was about. I mean, you don't have to go into a lot of detail,
Right.
like what you discussed or decided, but generally why you were meeting.
And let me just add here that the reason this even came up was when Megan and I were reviewing the bills and invoices and we got to the director fees, it became really hard to tell if these were committee meetings, if one person said they went, another person didn't record it. I mean, we need some mechanism so that we can validate and verify this information if we're supposed to decide if it's payable. And and we looked at the form and we said, well, the form, if we adjusted the form to be more descriptive, then we wouldn't have these issues going forward. And that's the purpose of redoing the form, not because we want to know the nitty gritty details of your meeting.
yeah. I mean, when I filled it out just to try it out this last month, it actually reduced stress because it was like, oh, it's right here in front of me, exactly what I need to fill out. I don't need to think about like what I should put or what I should write or, I mean, I'm anal retentive like that, but I did feel like it was helpful just to have it.
That's why I like it.
Okay.
It's
Because
a
it
good
is
thing
helpful,
because you
not
can keep
perfect.
track of all your meetings and stuff. You can look back and say, oh, okay, I did do this meeting on this date. I'm terrible with that, so I like it.
Okay, so,
Catherine,
yeah,
so we've discussed some changes to this form. I'm going to ask the committee, does the committee want to make the changes and bring it back to the board? Or do you want to get authorization to make the changes and start using the form?
Authorization to make the changes and start using the form.
I think that, I agree with that.
Yeah, why don't
Me
we
too.
entertain a motion to that effect?
I make a motion that we make the changes that were discussed to this form and then begin using it.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so,
Thank you,
Okay.
Megan. It's a great form.
we've had a lot of discussion. Is there any more discussion? Okay, so if not, then I will go ahead and call the vote and we'll start with Linda,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Megan, Yes. Art,
Yes.
I vote yes too. Okay.
Now, I
Megan,
did have something for billing and invoices also, Catherine, and Megan, if
Okay.
you would unshare your screen, please.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Because I'm going to share mine real quick. I'm going to share my screen because I made a little slideshow because it goes faster for me. I will not be reading slides to you. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Can.
You can? Just my whole screen or just what I've got on the screen?
I'm seeing a slideshow. You're billing an invoice, public
Perfect.
officials.
Okay.
Yeah.
It works different every time. Mackenzie, I hope you're there to save me if I fail on this. Last week, Megan made a comment and it really resonated with me. And it was a comment she made. We weren't talking about billing and invoices, but it was a comment about amending the deeds and that we shouldn't assume that everybody knows what we know. And she's absolutely right. And it applies to everything that we're doing here. I should not assume that every one of you know what I know. So I put together this slideshow to try to present to you how I look at billing and invoices and how I handle this. And it begins with, of course, the good old Declaration of Independence. And that is that governments derive their powers from the consent of the governed. So when I'm looking at those bills and invoices, I'm applying these specific duties that are outlined for public officials. This is the fiduciary duties of a public officials. And it's and not just public officials have duties, lawyers have them too. And so do doctors, and any real profession has them. And the ones that are primarily for us and that apply to billing and invoices are the duty of care, loyalty, impartiality, accountability, and the one that I had forgotten about, the duty to maintain the public's trust in government. So the duty of care includes being good stewards of the public treasury. That's the tax dollars that we watch. And to use due diligence in the selection and supervision of staff, to follow the rules and uphold the constitutions and laws of the jurisdictions. Examples of the breach of this duty include failure to attend meetings, failure to investigate, failure to engage in the deliberative process, and failure to vote. Reviewing the bills and invoices falls squarely into the duty of care. Contractors and service providers are held to their contractual obligations, which is how we achieve the public's trust that we are being responsible with their money. The duty of loyalty is public officials have an absolute obligation to put the public's interest before their own direct or indirect personal interests. This obligation is breached when he or she benefits at the public expense. Prohibited benefits can be financial or participating in decisions that favorably impact an official's business, property, or investments, career, or personal, such as benefits to family members or close associates. Note that when general ethical duties to family or friends conflict with duty to the public duty must prevail. When you vote to pay for services that are not received, or invoices that do not reflect accurately, or projects not approved by a full vote of the board, the duty of loyalty comes into play. The duty to the public must prevail. The duty of impartiality, excuse me. Public officials have a duty to represent all of their constituents fairly. They must overcome any inherent bias that they possess. Public officials should avoid targeting particular constituencies for favor or punishment. Although this duty really speaks to the impartiality and fairness towards constituents, I apply it to the review of bills and invoices as well. I look at each document against the contract that allows for it to be paid. My review is objective and logical, and I apply the same standard to every one of the documents. The duty of accountability is pretty straightforward. Without a duty of accountability, the public's ability to monitor the behavior of the public officials would be severely limited. From the duty of accountability flow the duty of transparency and the concepts of disclosure, open meetings, and accessibility of public records. Accountability is paramount in the review of bills and invoices, and accuracy is my focus. Speaking to the problems discovered from the review is necessary so that each member of the board can make an informed vote to pay or not to pay until corrected. The public has a right to know how this process works. This one was, again, I had completely forgot about this one, but it makes perfect sense, and it's part of what Bill has discussed at the start of this meeting. The duty to maintain the public trust. Without public trust, governments don't work. Public officials have a duty to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. That is to say, even if a particular course of conduct does not meet all of the elements necessary to constitute a violation of the law, it nevertheless may be unethical if it creates the perception of wrongdoing that will harm the public trust. For example, even if a public official believes that he can be impartial in spite of what might appear to be a potential conflict of interest, the official should be mindful that the public is not privy to all the facts, can't know what's in the official's mind, and may perceive that the conduct is not in the public's best interest. This is the proverbial ask yourself test. Would it be a bad thing for a particular course of conduct to be reported on the front page of the local newspaper? The answer to that question is your guide. I apply this test to the bills and invoices because it seems when money is involved, people pay closer attention, and these records are public. The notions of civility and respect towards colleagues and the public also help ensure the public's trust in the efficiency and effectiveness of government. When animus is displayed by board members towards each other, it causes the public to wonder if private feuds are taking precedence over the common welfare. When constituents are treated with a lack of respect, it causes the public to doubt the fairness of the proceedings. And I did not write this myself. Due credit goes to this genius lady here from Santa Clara University who wrote this, along with a link. And in this link, I've presented the underlying principles of a public official, and I hope you will have a better understanding of the enormous responsibility that comes with it and how it applies to the process of reviewing bills and invoices. I recognize that all of you have not probably ever sworn an oath of office unless you were in some sort of federal, state government position. You would not even probably be aware of these things. And I wanted you to be aware of them because I want you to understand how I look at things. These are the duties that I hold when I took that oath, and those will always be my priorities, and that's where my loyalty lays. So now that I've presented this to you, I'm going to forward these slides to every member of this board so that you'll have access to that link on the bottom, because this woman has a chart that you can click on. Actually, if you have any doubts about what you're doing and how it applies to these duties, you can go to her chart and see if it's in there. I wanted you to know that because I remember at the last meeting, it was really clear that not everybody agreed with my approach to reviewing bills and invoices. We all have a different way of doing things. I think it's important that you understand the duty you have as a public official, and those duties, they don't waver. And if you can stay in those lines, this should work just fine for everybody. Thanks.
So am I saying this correctly, that when we disagree with you, then we're doing it wrong?
No, absolutely not. Civility,
Okay.
absolutely not. You can disagree all the time.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
okay.
can you don't have to screen share, but one of the first panels that you went through, you were you said something about, and you made another comment where you talked about the full board had to agree on it or something, and I wanted a little more clarification on that.
No, we have to deliberate and we have to debate. We don't have to agree. We don't have to agree.
I totally agree with that, and that's why when the two words came together that the full board has to agree on something, that's when my ears perked up and I went, no, I don't think so.
No,
Oh,
we don't have,
okay.
no, as a matter of fact, it would be, it's really unusual to find votes that all 5 hands are in the air.
Okay.
It's more normal that there's going to be some disagreement, and ideally in a perfect world, we can discuss it to a place where we all can agree, but that's no guarantee. There's no
Okay.
guarantee of that. But Catherine, I'm going to send you these slides. If you see something in there that makes you believe that, let me know what that is. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so are we ready to move on to agenda item 6?
We have one more thing from bills and invoices, and I think
Oh.
Megan,
Okay.
if it's okay with y'all, we're gonna make a recommendation for paying some of the Jana King invoices since we haven't paid them due to receiving credits and not receiving some credits and so on and so forth, and a lot of back and forth. And I think we finally worked out our number here. And so I've discussed that with both Megan and Linda. So if y'all are okay with making that recommendation, I can kind of go over that.
Oh, was somebody going to do a screen share?
I don't have anything to share. I just have my numbers written down.
Okay. Okay. Well.
So basically, and it's not, I don't feel like it's needing a screen share necessarily. But so we all know we opened the parks back up as far as the restrooms being open and everything else on November 16th. So our first invoice we received from Jana King was for a full month of November, which we did not agree to paying because we were not open for the entire month of November. So we've broken down the amounts for both parks to be at 50% of what we would normally pay. And those two amounts are $311.12 and $388.20 for between the two parks. They were operational for the entire month of December, from December 1st through the 31st. So we are going to pay the normal amounts for those, which is $622.50 and $767.40. And then they had only been operational from January 1st through January 7th because the cleaning guy had a bit of a misunderstanding on his part. I'm not really sure why he stopped cleaning on the 7th, but that did happen. So we are paying them for 7 days in January, and they are supposed to pick back up as of February 1st. And with that, the total amounts that we're paying them for all of November that they were open, which is November 16th through November 30th, December 1st through the 31st, and January 1st through the 7th, is a total amount of $2,514.27. And just so you guys can understand how that compares to what we would have normally paid for 3 months, that is a difference of $3,594, and then taking away the $2,514, you're looking at a difference of about $1,000 because they weren't cleaning for the full month of November or January. So I think both Megan and Linda have reviewed my notes on this one, and I think we all agree that since they did clean and they did do their job for that, that we are going to agree to pay them. And in the meantime, between now and the February 17th meeting, I believe, maybe the meeting after, depending on what Megan and Beth decide to do with the Parks Committee, we're going to look at some other cleaning services and see if we can get some more quotes in and things like that to see how they compare, and probably ask Jana King as well if they want to provide an updated proposal from their end.
Okay.
I think board recommendation would be to approve the amount of paying Jana King for and I've already detailed this with Michael, so he has all of this. We were just looking for the board's vote tonight before we proceeded. The amount is $2,514.27. So for the exact time frame of November 16th through January 7th. If someone would like to entertain a motion.
So has this been reviewed by the committee, all these details? The Bills and Invoices Committee, are you satisfied with this payment?
Honestly, it's so convoluted that I would like to go on the record and I told this to Mackenzie today, I am going to trust that she's figured out what they've done and what they haven't, and when it was open, when it was cleaned, because it's all over the map. So she's come up with a number that she believes is fair. And so I agreed We'll do her number if she finds a replacement contractor.
Okay, but what we're doing is paying past invoices to Jana
Yes.
King that we've been holding.
Yes.
So the committee has seen all this paperwork on what they had billed and these adjustments. The reason I'm asking is this something we have to approve tonight? Or could I put it on the agenda for next week when you have all your paperwork together and we
I
can
don't think
look
there's
at it?
anything more to show us. What McKinsey's presenting is the negotiated settlement she made with Jenny King,
Okay.
because they've been sending bills every month as if they've been cleaning these bathrooms every month, and they haven't.
Correct.
So
Which the
she's figured out when exactly they were there and cleaned, and then prorated their amount. And McKinsey, am I understanding correctly that they agreed
Absolutely. So
to the amount you've settled? Because we haven't seen the final bill that she's presenting. This is all the bills that she has. This is what she's deemed is payable.
Correct. So how this worked out is, as Linda said, we have been getting bills monthly for services that have not been rendered, and they've had to go back and issue credits for those amounts. So Michael has actually worked with them on getting the credits that we have deemed necessary. And basically they've made sure that the credits reflect the amounts I am presenting monthly, because Jana King also got my exact same email that both Linda and Megan received, explaining what are we willing to pay for. And they fully agreed to that. And they do understand that the board will make a decision on February 17th of whether or not they continue with the contract.
Okay, so let me ask a couple of clarifying questions. So when you say that Jana King has agreed to it, they have actually issued the credits or just told you they agreed to it?
No, we didn't ask them to. So yes, they have issued the credits. I've confirmed with Michael the credits that they have issued. And I think he's still waiting on one other. And I have an email from Valerie with Jana King responding to my email where I stated the exact same amounts I just did a moment ago. Fully agreeing with those and saying she would let Daniel know that he would be to clean from February 1st on until we receive notice at the February 17th meeting of what the board's decision is to move forward.
Okay, so I suggest the committee make a motion or recommendation, and then the board can vote on it.
Okay, somebody needs to make a motion.
I don't have the total amount. I don't have it. And everything that I know it came from McKinsey. So,
Okay, I've got it.
okay.
I think,
2514 and 27 cents.
yeah. Motion to pay Janet King the amount of $2,514.27 for their service between the dates of November 16th and January 7th.
Okay, I'll second that. Okay, so this is the next question. But this check is going to be issued, excuse me, as part of what's reviewed on February 17th. Or are we issuing a check immediately?
Out of the manager's account, McKinsey, did you and Michael discuss that?
Correct. We would like to issue it out of the manager's account, considering they are nearly 3 months behind on getting paid
Okay.
due to the deliberation of credits and what have you.
Okay, that's all I wanted to understand. So then it'll be discussed again at the meeting on the 17th.
No, it won't. This one won't be. It'll be a fresh bill, I assume, right, McKinsey?
Correct. It'll show up on the check register for next month, but the check will have already been issued.
Right, because it'll be discussed as part of what the activity of the manager's account.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, we're all on the same page then. Okay, so I'll go ahead and, is there any more discussion?
Do I need to amend that motion to say that it's coming out of the manager's account? Or is it good as is, Bill?
Go ahead and amend it for the minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
Or to the motion and get it reseconded.
Okay, motion to approve payment of Jana King in the amount of $2,514.27 for their service between the dates of November 16th, January 7th, and to pay that out of the manager's account.
Okay, I'll second that again then. Okay. Did we have any more additional discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Linda,
Yes, but
Yes.
on the record, I want it to be known that my yes is solely based on the information that Mackenzie Scales has put forward to explain the service that was provided.
okay.
Okay?
Beth,
Yes, for this check, yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Art.
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes too. Okay. Okay, so are we done with billing and invoice?
Yes.
Okay, report from the customer care committee. We're going to, A, answers to prior questions from residents regarding district matters, and B, online postings, inaccurate or misleading site names, district information, communications to correct misstatements. Does anybody have anything that they want to discuss?
I see Lewis removed his logo off his Facebook page.
Yes, he did.
Whoever
Yes, he
took care of
did.
that, thank you.
Yes.
So Catherine and Beth, do you want to address the items that we talked about at the committee meeting?
Yes, I'd like to talk about one more. Just while we're removing things off websites and stuff, if Linda would remove what she had posted last week would be great.
What did I post? Where?
On neighborhood.
Oh,
Page.
about the vote? Oh, no, that's true. No, that's
Yes,
true. It
but
stays.
listen, you're accusing us of fraud.
No, I didn't. I said you voted in a certain way, which was true.
Right, and you, I didn't see the posting, and it's my understanding that Beth can't really see the posting either, because you, as a neighborhood lead for next door, have gotten her kicked off the website. But it's my understanding that you asserted that because of that, even though the board voted against you, we have engaged in some sort of fraudulent behavior.
Well, Catherine, that is, if you can't see it, that's an accusation. You can't stand up. And if you'd like, I'll send you what I posted, but that's emphatically not what it says, not even a little bit. And I have no control over who's on next door. My goodness, that's a real far stretch. No, it doesn't say anything.
Beth is, did I misstate the situation?
Yes, completely.
Beth, are you there?
No, she's not being honest, but keep going.
Well, why is she not? Okay, so why is she not being honest?
I can't get on next door.
I have nothing to do with that. I can't control that.
I don't think that's really what we're talking about here. I think what we're talking about is the fact that it is a statement that comes from your perspective. It is a statement in which you make claims that we are violating property rights, which are statements that have not been substantiated by our attorney.
That wasn't in the posting. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Did you go look at it? That was not in the posting.
I absolutely looked at it. And I also looked at the emails that you sent to everyone, because I got a lot of emails in response.
I did ask them to respond to let you guys know how they felt about their money. That's true.
So, I mean, I don't know if we need to bring it up and talk about it, but.
Well, let's talk about it. I think we should. Let's talk about it.
This is the, I guess
I can read if you guys want to hear the whole letter, I can read it, because there's a lot of faults in here.
Okay.
But Bill, I'll let you decide what you think is best on that.
Well, let's hold off on that for a minute. Okay. So Linda, I did read the posting. I did read it. Okay, and I'm reading it from a perspective of, I'm not on this board. I didn't vote. Okay, so I met with the committee, and the committee had concerns, and the concerns fall in a couple of categories. One is kind of a general concern. I guess we're going to try to address in the communication policy, and perhaps otherwise, as to what really activities the board members should be engaging in on social media. And I acknowledge there is a huge debate nationally on how to use social media, how can you regulate it, who should regulate it, and people have absolute First Amendment rights. These are very important things, but they're also complicated, and they get complicated by sometimes the content of the posting or when it's posted and so forth. There are all these things that go on. So as far as discussion in the board meeting, I already addressed that when I made my recommendations, and you addressed some of it in your slideshow about civility, respect, and how we run the meeting. But discourse is very important. Disagreement is very important. So during the meeting, there was disagreement. Now, it was maybe a little bit more argumentative than should be, but there was disagreement and the board voted. After the board voted, you posted something. And you didn't say you represented the district, but you criticized the board members in different ways. And you summarized what happened, which is, in my opinion, the very least incomplete, a bit misleading perhaps. And you do have a statement at the bottom where you actually do say that the board is allowing contractor to violate people's property rights. And there was at least one person who said, thank you, Linda. I don't know if you saw the response, but thank you. I'm going to give this to my attorney. So if I ever have to use it, that's the kind of activity that I was talking about when I made recommendations in some of these views. So just getting on any kind of social media, any of us, and I don't use social media. You're not going to see me on, and you probably can't find me anywhere unless my wife did something on Facebook that has my name. You're not going to find me out there because I think it's dangerous media. But you have First Amendment rights. I have First Amendment rights. Megan, everybody's got First Amendment rights. And I would never, ever recommend we violate somebody's rights. We're a government. If the board did it, we could be sued in federal court. But when a director goes out after a meeting, and clearly you're a director, and makes statements that the public might take as absolute fact, not opinion, absolute fact, and there's not other explanation in there, and especially if you give them advice as to how they can exercise rights against the district, then you've gone into an area that not only concerns me as far as protecting the district, but also concerns the directors that you criticized. And again, I'm not trying to censure anybody or mute anybody or anything, but you offended the other board members and they felt that it was a mischaracterization of what happened. It wasn't complete. So for example, I don't think we need to read it. I already mentioned the property rights thing. For example, you indicated that the board was paying contractors where work was not performed or contractually required documents were not provided.
That's a fact.
Well, it's a statement that is incomplete and somewhat misleading. I mean, I was at the meeting too. And again, I'm not on the board. I didn't vote either way, but it does sound incomplete and misleading. So for example, if we want not to go into detail, I'll be glad to, but for example, the board did vote to pay Gray Engineering's invoice, even though Herb did not have all the proposals and approvals that were in his contract. His contract from the past that I explained had been followed pretty rigidly until up to recently. And that, yes, he didn't comply fully with the contract, but that the board essentially had waived that requirement for a while and that they could legally pay Herb. None of that's in your statement, obviously. Maybe you don't want to put all the details, but when you tell the public we paid the contractor for not having contractually required documentation,
which is a fact.
None of that's in it. Well, it's a fact. It's an incomplete statement, and it's somewhat misleading. You combined it with a statement that they were paying contractors for work not performed. Okay, and work not performed sounds like they didn't do the work, and we looked at it, and the board still approved it. And again, I think that's misleading because we had a complete discussion about it for quite a while. And I assume you're referring to Sage and not Gray Engineering.
Right.
Because Gray Engineering clearly did the work.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're referring to Sage
Yes.
is something they didn't perform and they got paid for it.
Right.
And so without the specific, you're taking a broad brush, and after a long discussion, they did pay Sage, and you're saying they paid them for stuff they didn't do,
which
or
they
work
did.
they didn't do. And so
It's also a
specifically,
fact.
but well, you say it's a fact. Specifically, what is that?
Specifically,
what
the
part
fact.
of it? What part of the discussion from before would that be? Yes.
I apologize. I didn't hear the last thing you
Okay.
said.
So at the last meeting, we had detailed discussion, a lot of things about the Sage invoice, a lot of things, okay? And the board ultimately approved it. So which portion of the invoice are you saying that they did not perform?
Of last month's invoice, it was night tours, and of the month before, it was letters that didn't get sent, and probably a host of other things. I don't have that in front of me. I literally documented everything that was not accurate. My point is this, and let me make this really clear again. I don't work for the board. I work for the people. They have a right to know if the board votes to do these things. That doesn't mean what you did is wrong. They have a right to know. You've made a choice. You've made a choice to do it your way. That's fine. You didn't get a letter from everybody. You only got a letter from people who don't like that practice.
Well, okay.
Linda, but you're not on that committee, so how do you really know?
I am on that committee. That's bills and invoices.
Linda, they don't like your characterization of what happened, which isn't the whole story.
Well,
number one, and number two, well, I'm not going to get into the discussion about last month about why we decided to vote, but there were some.
Well, maybe you owe that to the people that
Okay.
have a concern. Maybe they need to understand why you voted yes.
And Linda, but you are sicking them on us with your characterization of what happened, because I don't know.
Sad.
So you said in your own presentation that one of our jobs as an elected official is to uphold trust in government.
Sure.
You are not.
You are undermining
Yes.
residents' trust in their government.
Look,
Yes.
You
They
saw,
may
the
trust
other, you saw the other slides too, the accountability, the loyalty, the
But
care.
the last one is just as important as all the others.
Exactly.
And
It
you are
is.
undermining the public's trust in us in lieu of trusting
I want
you.
to say something too. Let's go back. You said that the additional services wasn't in the contract. It is in the contract. It's stated, paragraph 4.
Are you talking
4B.
Sage?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
on
It
Sage's
is.
contract
It is.
and the
And
amendment.
read
It
what it
says
says.
Linda,
any
stop.
invoice for
This is about
additional services will only be
to have
payable if
pre-approval.
the additional services are specifically authorized by the contract or have been approved by the board and its designated subcommittee in advance.
Thank you.
It's in there. It's in there. You know, I took your word for it, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to dig into the contract again because I signed the
You need
original.
to
one,
look
and I'm
deeper
looking
in
at
that
it, and it's right
contract.
there in
Mark.
plain sight.
You need to look at what the required documentation is with their invoice for anything. And the subcommittee, when they approve something, they have to bring it to the board immediately after they do
Linda.
it. It's
I do.
written in their
I understand that, and I like your passion for making things on the up and up, but it states in the contract that you can either specify it in the contract or clearly it says, or if it's been approved by the board and a designated subcommittee. And in this case, in my mind, I could be wrong, Bill, read the paragraph 4B, it's legitimate, you know? That's what I'm saying.
It needs to be followed by the committee that sent them on that task, bringing forward to the board that they have approved these additional services. That never happened. That didn't happen for most of what's on Sage Management's bill. And here's the deal, and this is what you guys forget, or you won't acknowledge. The prior month, in November's bill, they had as many mistakes in their November billing as they had in December. And I told them, next month, bring your documents with your invoices. Don't just put stuff on there that I can't substantiate, like the payment of the business expenses. Nowhere, I can't find that anywhere in meeting minutes that was ever approved by the board, and it's been going on for over a year. So here's the deal. These things, I'm not suggesting that the committee didn't approve them. I'm saying there's no documentation to support that. And without that, the record is incomplete.
But to say that it's fraud is wrong, Linda. And
There's
here's my
not
next.
one
no,
word of
Linda,
fraud in
stop talking over people. You just did that to Art. Please don't do it to me. But here's the deal. We have a company that we pay called Touchstone. They are our public information officers. Okay. What you did on Nextdoor was wrong. You needed to go to Touchstone and ask them to put it out. You don't get to put stuff out like that.
I most certainly do, young lady. You don't tell me how I
Bill?
communicate and where.
That's exactly what we're talking about, is how we talk to people.
Okay, let's I'm going to clarify a couple of things and maybe we can move on.
Let's get back on track.
Okay, so I think the reaction to your posting, Linda, was not that you posted factual information necessarily. You did it as an individual. And again, I'm not trying to impinge upon your First Amendment rights. That statement that I don't believe is correct, that you have to go through Touchstone to make a posting as an individual. We are developing a communications policy. It's not ready yet. It's going to have a number of guidelines for representations by directors or the board on public sites, social media. Whether it has any enforcement mechanism, that remains to be seen. The policy isn't done. But again, I would never condone impinging upon someone's First Amendment rights if it was a violation of the Constitution. So that's not the issue. The issue was that the posting was made immediately after the meeting when you were voted against, and the other directors who saw it, and certainly the residents who responded to it, thought that you were making legal type allegations against the board following a very detailed discussion and vote. I think in the meeting, we need to explore these things, not yell at each other, but we need to read the contracts. We need to decide, is the documentation there. Once we leave the meeting and there's a vote, I think that the other directors were offended, the ones that saw it and got emails from it, that you attacked them after the vote and you reported information that I can say at best is incomplete and somewhat misleading. The residents' rights part, violating property rights, you clearly put that in there. And the residents, when you do that, Linda, they think that it's absolute truth. And it's not. No, it's not a truth. That statement is not a truth. And I couldn't agree with that statement in any shape or form that you presented it.
Well,
so, and I'm legal counsel for the district, and you're a board member, and that's fine. But if you put out something that looks like it's a true statement, not only do they assume, number one, that's what a court of law would say. Number two, that some legal expert has said that. And you know, the board did not agree with that statement, and we haven't talked about that in detail. And to put it out, I think the public thinks Linda is telling us what the law is. And first of all, I don't think that you're an expert in the law, and I don't think any court has ruled on this issue, and I certainly haven't rendered an opinion. So on that statement, I must say that if I were seeing that, I would be offended if I was on board. The other
well, you know something, I just want to say this. I make sure that everything I post passes the test of standing up in the court of law with regards to truthfulness, and I will continue to do so. I am making legal allegations. I suspect fraud and embezzlement at this point, and I could care less if the other directors feel offended, if that's what it takes to defend the residents of this mud. I will continue to do what I was elected to do. And even, I'm sorry if it offends you. If stand behind your vote, if you voted to do the right thing, you can explain that. Stand
So,
behind it.
Bill,
If you want more detail in my postings, I'll gladly give more detail. I actually like to point them to the meetings, but they take too long to post. And you're absolutely right. That one there, I thought that one was just not a good move. And I want people to know, I want the neighbors to know that yes, Sage Management is out there citing violations, assessing fines to things that are not contained in the deed. That is a violation of the people's rights. That is in fact a violation.
Okay.
So
Linda?
You know what, Linda? That's not true either.
Beth, let me address it and then maybe we can go. I disagree with what you're saying because you're stating something that is absolute. And occasionally you do that. You state something that's absolute and it's not. What you just said, that whole statement is not absolute.
you're telling me that there's no letter out there citing somebody for a violation that does not exist in their deed, or that
No, I'm
somebody
not-
has not been
Linda,
fined?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I disagree with the statement you made. You made a very broad, definitive statement that sounds like you're a judge issuing a ruling, and you're not a judge.
My statement says that the deed enforcement contractor has cited violations that are not contained in the deed, and that is a violation of your rights. I don't need to be a judge to make that
And
determination.
the last part, violation of your rights.
Yes.
So a letter that goes out as a mistake has violated someone's rights.
Oh,
I
now
disagree
it's a
with that statement.
mistake?
Well, you're implying, this is another part of your discussion. You're implying that these letters were intentionally written in a way to violate someone's rights. That's a serious accusation. I have no evidence that's the case. I'm sure that some of the letters may be mistakes, but you're implying an intentional act. That's not been proven. That's not been reviewed by any court. So to say that to the public, they take it from you that that's a fact. And you, in your mind, you're saying it's a fact, but I don't agree with that statement. I don't think that that's
How
a
many
fact.
letter mistakes would it have to be before it became a fact? How many times would this have to have occurred before it's a fact?
Okay.
Or for how long?
I can't answer that question. However, I can tell you that there are errors in letters. There are going to be letters and deed restriction enforcement letters, but I've never seen it intentionally done.
Really?
Okay, so Bill, I think the biggest concern that I have in this whole conversation is Linda keeps talking about how she does not work for the board, that she works for the constituents and the residents of the district, but she's here to support the district, to work for the district, and not put the district in any and to create any position where the district is somehow becoming liable for her acts. And that is where I'm really concerned, is that her acts and her accusations are opening up the MUD district to problems. That is where I'm really concerned. I mean, Linda, all of us want perfection in what's going on. All of us want to work for the residents and the taxpayers of this district. What I'm concerned, though, is that you're going about it that is going to leave the district open to legal liability. That because of how you're going about it. That is my concern.
Well, don't be concerned, because the only liability you have is if you do something wrong. If you don't, you won't be in trouble. So it's pretty simple. Do it right. And there's no issue.
But Linda,
You're saying
those
we're not doing it
accusations that you're making right there gets us in trouble. You're saying things that aren't right.
I wouldn't say them if I did not have demonstrable facts to prove them.
I just read you that contract where it's in the contract.
You're
They keep the
missing
rights.
the piece that requires the approval.
Okay, well, I think we have,
Catherine, does the committee have any other items to discuss under
No.
this?
Let's go. It's 10
yeah,
o'clock.
we've beat this dead horse. I agree. Okay, agenda item 7, report from the Information Management Committee. We've got a district website. Do we have anything to discuss?
No, not at this.
Okay. B, approval for Information Management Committee to work with Touchstone on changes to the website.
Yeah, we're gonna have to table that. What this is that I anticipate that at some point we're gonna make some changes and reconfigurations to parts of the website. We're not there yet, but
Okay.
at some point we're gonna have to talk about approval for, I'll have to get a number from Touchstone, because as I understand it in their contract, they will make the changes under, what they're already contracted to do. But if we, the time that it takes for us to sort of go back and forth on stuff and talk about stuff, that'll be an extra cost. So
Okay.
I don't have that number right now, but
Okay. C, additional services by Touch.
Wait. I have a question about that.
Mhm.
And I understand, I mean, Touchstone started out as just going to do the video recordings of the meeting. That's how their contract first started. And that was 23,000 just to set that room up. And now we've been adding more and more to them. First time stamping. Now they don't timestamp anymore. I don't know how that stopped. I don't remember a vote on that. As a matter of fact, I couldn't find it in the minutes when I looked. And Infomark in their base service is required or is responsible for web maintenance. So if Touchstone's going to do it, then we need to take that out of Infomark's contract and renegotiate their base fee. McKinsey tells me they can't even update the calendar, for heaven's sakes. So meetings are not appearing on the calendar other than the 2 a month, not the additional. So if we're paying 2 contractors to do the same service, then we are not being responsible with the people's money.
I agree with that, Linda. And I'll talk to Mackenzie about it and Lee, and we'll work all that out. Because I agree with you. And just for efficiency purposes too, if we have to contact Touchstone every time we want to update something, that's.
Yeah, because that was the whole point, is that we need to be able to, upload, minutes and stuff like that. That's the easy part versus the wholesale reorganization of the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, right. Exactly. So it would have to be a separate discussion, which is why, no new services are going to be obviously approved without board.
Are they stopping the time stamping? Because that's in their contract.
They should still be doing that. Because remember, we discussed that we're going to.
It was expensive.
Yeah, it was expensive because they were having to have someone else who wasn't even at the meeting rewatch the entire meeting and timestamp it. So what we've been doing is Lee, bless her, has been taking, in addition to taking minutes, she's timestamping, and then we send that to them and they apply it to, so it takes a little bit of time for them to apply it to the meeting and make sure it's accurate, but it's way more
more efficient. And that makes sense. Okay.
The last, double check, but the last 2 meetings don't have timestamps on them, I don't think.
Okay, I'll check that.
And then
I know it's been getting, the information's been getting to them, so.
Okay, so 7C, additional services by Touchstone, including online reservation system and the public bulletin board.
Yeah, we're gonna have to unfortunately boot that too. We have 2 of 4 potential proposals in hand, and we were gonna try to talk about the 2 that we had, but we just didn't have enough time at the committee level to go over it and ask our questions of Touchstone. So
okay,
that's
okay. So agenda item 8, resolution authorizing the disbursement to Lakeline Oaks Homeowners Association of all remaining funds in the Lakeline Oaks Beautification Fund. And I believe that is, here we go. we all should have received a resolution as part of our agenda for this. And this comes back, and this is coming from the suggestion that Linda made. Was it in
Have to give them their
December?
money. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, but this was in December, right? We started talking about this in December.
It's been a while, but you know something?
Yeah.
When I made that suggestion, I was not aware that Sage had been doing night tours over there. And if they're consuming MUD resources that we're paying for, then my whole idea on this whole giving back the money has changed considerably, for the very reason that they are too enjoying the deed enforcement services that the rest of the MUD does. So actually, I've totally given this another thought, because I now look at it more like, especially after the audit, it became more clear to me that this is no different than reservation fees or tennis court fees or that kind of money, that kind of general revenue that comes in. And I know there was a resolution to set this money aside, but there's, again, we reach these problems here now where with Lakeline Oaks, for example, consumed almost $700 in 6 months for some night tours. Is that going to be continuing? Because if it is, then all this money needs to go into general revenue, and then you do their deed enforcement, as long as we do deed enforcement, and then everybody's equal.
Okay, okay, so we have got, I'm just gonna, just start talking at a high level. We have got, hold on, let me get my agenda back. We've got basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, we've got the same resolution for Lakeline Oaks, Valente Hills, and Hunter's Glen, correct?
Correct. The difference is, besides the name, is the amount, and the amount was given up to us by Michael Luff as the current balance in those accounts. And yes, Linda had the suggestion prior that she's rethinking, so I drew up the resolution for that. And then Catherine, you suggested that if we're going to have a resolution for that association, let's do the other two as well.
Yes.
So that's
Okay.
where this came from.
But other than the fact, so we got 3 resolutions, 8, 9, and 10 for Lakeline Oaks, Valente Hills, Hunter's Glen. The difference between each resolution is just what the balance of their beautification fund is. Am I saying that correct?
Correct.
And then, but other than that, the conditions, etc., are all exactly the same.
Correct.
Okay, so at a high level, Bill, can you just discuss what the conditions are for these resolutions?
Okay, so if the board were to approve this resolution, the first thing is the association would have to sign this page on the front agreeing to the terms and conditions. The terms and conditions are that the money is to be expended only for deed restriction enforcement purposes, which can include payment of management fees for the association's manager. They have to provide written confirmation of the actual expenditures to the general manager in 30 days of each expenditure. And if they don't expend all the money within 12 months, that the money will be returned to the district and allocated to the association's share of the beautification funds. And the other condition was they have to sign the written confirmation of agreement, which is the front page. Those are the only conditions placed on the distribution for each of these 3. And keep in mind that these resolutions were all generated at based on the concept that perhaps we should just submit the balance to these associations. And so I certainly don't have a recommendation either way on any of those 3.
Okay. So why don't I do this? since we need to, if we're going to discuss it, we need to pass a resolution. So I'm going to, I make a motion that we approve the resolution for Lakeline, for us to distribute the beautification funds for Lakeline Oaks in the amount of $13,499.54 with the restrictions that have been put on in the resolution before us. Boy, wasn't said very well. How can I fix that, Bill?
You can make a motion to approve the resolution as presented, which
okay.
relates to Lakeline Oaks.
Okay, that's better. I make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented for Lakeline Oaks in the amount of $13,499.54. So somebody give me a second if we're going to discuss it. If you don't want to discuss it, we can move on.
I think we should hold off.
Okay, that's fine.
But can we
Yeah,
ask questions then?
Pardon?
Say that again, Megan.
I'm just wondering if, can we ask questions about it? Because I don't know that I'm gonna be in a position to vote on it until I understand something.
Well, that's why I wanted to hold off, because I don't
Yeah.
really want to second the motion if we can't.
Right.
Well, okay, yeah. So if we don't second the motion, we can't do any discussion. Am I saying that correct, Bill?
Well, I don't think we followed those strict rules in the past. We've
Okay,
had discussion prior to motions. We've had discussions
Okay.
after motion and second. So, if there are concerns and questions, I would suggest we try to answer them. and then go
okay.
on.
So ask your questions, Megan.
Okay, so I guess, so one question I have is, so the resolution specifies that it has to be spent on deed restriction enforcement. How does that differ from how the money has been distributed in the past? So for example, we just voted to distribute money to Lakeline Oaks to pay for landscaping at an entryway. Can they still pay for something like that under the way that this resolution is written?
No, in the past, those types of projects or events, we were very specific. It was either reimbursement or a specific event. This is, we're essentially giving the money with limited restrictions. And so I'm recommending that the restrictions apply to deed restriction enforcement, which can include paying their HOA management. And I think all of these associations that we're talking about, especially Lakeline Oaks, has a management company. So they pay fees to their manager. So it's probably something they can direct towards those payments. And then that would fit within deed restriction services under this resolution. But no, they couldn't put up lights. They couldn't do landscaping with it. They couldn't have a social event with this money, not the way it's written.
And how do we enforce that? That's my question.
Right, and they're required under this resolution to provide documentation and that they're agreeing to the terms and conditions. So actually, if they violate it, we would have a cause of action against them.
Okay. So along what Megan said, I go to Valente Hills, I tell them we're going to give you this money, right? And these are the restrictions for it. They say, well, no, we want to use it for other things. They can't have it, correct?
Right. So if, and I'm not recommending approval of these three, but if these resolutions were approved, then it would go to the association like Valente Hills or Lakeline Oaks, and those associations would have to approve signing these conditions. So they could decline to do it and the money wouldn't be distributed.
Okay, so
Why were
wouldn't
these
you want to
conditions not-
ask them first if they're receptive, they're receptive to this?
Someone from Valente Hills is here tonight. Just
Why were these conditions not on this money before?
We've always had some conditions on different distributions. They weren't
know,
these
but-
specific ones.
But we just recently gave Lakeline Oaks over $6,000 to do Christmas lights. So
For a specific project. I feel uncomfortable recommending that we distribute the balance without specifying how it would be spent. Because we don't know. If we leave it open-ended, if
Yeah,
the board says open-ended, then we're not specifying the event or controlling the distribution for a certain purpose. So if we left it wide open, we wouldn't even know what they were spending it on.
And why does it matter when this money before has been used for all kinds of things that are not deed related? I mean, literally, it's the gamut of things, and it wasn't an issue then. Why would we care what they do with it if it's in their own hands versus us approving it when they come in and ask for it? It doesn't wash with me. It is not working. If it's okay for him to come in here, it's Lakeline Oaks, we'll use that as an example, and get approval for Christmas lights, then what difference does it make if he does that without our approval? It's the same bucket of money.
But I think the point is that if we're going to just do a blanket distribution, we want to direct it towards a specific activity within by the HOA. That's what we're trying to get to.
You want to control the money if it leaves your hand, but when it's in your hand, you'll do anything with it.
Okay, I'm not following. I'm not gonna engage you in that. But the point is, I think Bill said it best, is that he's uncomfortable doing it without any kind of restrictions, and we could still give them, we could approve this and they could still come back and say, no, I don't want to I don't want your money with restrictions, with that restriction. So I'm not going to accept it.
Yeah.
So
we still don't have a second, right? We had a motion.
Right.
I guess, Catherine, if there's not a second.
If we're not gonna have a second, then we'll move on. Okay, so the next one is, we've got exactly 9. Okay, number 9, am I saying that right?
Yeah, 9 is Valente Hills.
Is Valente Hills. So it is exactly the same resolution for Valente Hills, except for in the amount of $757.66.
Yeah, it's a much lower amount.
Right.
Sorry, but it's much lower. Yes.
Yeah, that's the sort of I'd never see it. So, I'm still uncomfortable with this right now, so I don't really want to consider it right now. I'd like to talk to the board first,
Is there so someone from the Valente Hills board is here? I don't know.
Hey guys, it's Karen Wallace. I'm here. I'm the vice president, and I actually spoke to Sarah Price, the president, about this earlier.
Okay.
We had a discussion on the phone. She couldn't be here because her son is having surgery tomorrow, and our other board member, Carol Norrell, is ill this evening, so I'm here. But we are open to taking the money with restrictions. We are a smaller HOA. We have very little wiggle room in our budget, and we do use these beautification funds when they're available. So we're open to taking them to put in our budget and use with restrictions.
Okay.
Karen, so you understand that then it would be only for deed restriction enforcement that you could spend that money? Is that okay? Is that what you understood?
Wait, it would, say that again, Megan. It would be for
deed restriction.
The way this resolution is written, if we transfer the full amount of the money to you, to the board, then you could only use it for deed restriction enforcement.
Right. Yeah, which can include payment to the Valente Hills HOA Association manager.
Yeah, management fees would be included in that.
Yeah.
They typically, I don't know your contract, Karen, but typically you have a contract with your management company that
Yeah.
includes deed restriction enforcement.
Okay, if I could just get this information and take it back to Sarah and Carol. I don't want to be the one to make the decision. So I will take this information back to them and get back to you guys. Because it doesn't sound like we're going to make a decision on this immediately anyways.
And Karen,
Hey,
can
Bill,
I ask you a
so-
question? Let me ask her a question real quick, because I know they do have, is it Management 360, I believe, is your enforcement company?
No, it's
No, Connect.
Community Connect.
So I'm sorry. But Sage Management is doing your deed enforcement for you, right? They're not, Management Connect isn't doing deed enforcement for you, are they?
To be honest, Linda, I don't know the specifics of that. I know that Sabrina, who is our main contact, does do some of that, but I
She
don't
does the
know
night
where
tours.
it comes into that as well.
The way I understand it, Sabrina does the night tours and Sage Management does the day tours. Is that, I think that's correct. Jimmy, are you on?
We do daytime tours only there. We have no nighttime at all.
Okay, so I was correct, yeah. So that's the way it works. And to add to that, Connect Management does a lot more than just, the inspections and the deed restrictions. So,
Oh, yeah.
But that
they
money
have
is
to single that
restricted.
money out.
But the money is restricted for deed enforcement only. So if
Correct.
Management Connect didn't do that, you couldn't use that money to pay them.
Well.
Am I right, Bill?
I guess the wording could be tightened up a little bit. I think my intent was that they could use it to pay their manager for under their management contract, even if it wasn't solely deed restriction enforcement. But
We worded
I
that
guess
way.
the wording could be changed a little bit. Because if they have a manager and they have to pay the manager like X dollars a month, and they tell us that should suffice, we probably wouldn't look to see exactly what the manager did in what proportion. So if we do revisit this issue, then I probably would recommend a modification to clarify that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever the board thinks is appropriate.
So Karen wants to talk to Sarah. So in that situation, why don't we just wait till next month to do this?
Okay.
You okay with that, Karen?
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. So then we've got, so what is it? What is it? Number 9? Is that what it is? And that
we're on number 10.
Oh, number 10,
It's
sorry.
the Hunter's Glen
Yeah.
one.
Hunter's Glen, which is 312961.
Is that for Hunter's Glen 1 or Hunter's Glen 2?
It's Hunter's Glen HOA.
So tell me the amount.
$3,129.61.
And what's the amount in Hunter's Glen 2 collection?
There is
This amount in the resolution is the beautification fund. It's not, that amount's not broken out as to where it got collected. So
Well,
in
the
our resolution establishes a fund that says Hunter's Glen. We don't have one for 1 and 2.
Right. And the resolution says that the money will go back to the section that it was collected in. So if you collected it in Hunter's Glen 2, you can't give it to Hunter's Glen 1.
Okay, which resolution are you talking about?
The resolution that describes the who can have the money.
Who can request money? The
Who-
resolution established the accounts. Yeah, but it doesn't say, I don't think it says exactly what you're saying. It says that that it can be requested by, I have to put in front of me, the people that can request the entities requested are listed in there.
Right.
But it doesn't talk about where the money can be distributed to.
It actually discusses the premise of this account is that the money would be set aside for the section in which it was collected. So if you're telling me that you collected $3,129.61 inside of Hunter's Glen 1, That makes perfect sense. But if you collected any of that money out of Hunter's Glen 2, please explain to me how they are going to get any of that money in Hunter's Glen 2. They won't. It'll all
No,
stay
they
in
won't.
Hunter's Glen
They
1.
won't. And I'm sure that this is the total. This is not just Hunter's Glen 1 funds. I'm sure it's the
No.
total. It's the
So-
fund total.
Right. So this, and I asked Michael today to get me how much of it came out of Hunter's Glen 2 properties and how much came from Hunter's Glen 1. I wouldn't object to Hunter's Glen 1 having their share, but absolutely not the money collected in Hunter's Glen 2. That doesn't belong with the HOA.
Okay.
That belongs to
So-
Hunter's Glen 2.
Okay. So the amount that's in this resolution is the total, includes fines from both subdivisions.
Then that won't
I'm
work.
certain of that.
Okay.
Okay. Because we only set up a fund from an accounting point of view.
And,
Yeah.
and in the very beginning, you only collected, or for many years, you only collected in Hunter's Glen 2, and it was real easy to determine where that money came from. It's only last June, I believe, that you picked up Hunter's Glen 1. So Michael could effectively go forward and look at everything from June to today and see where that money was collected. But again, after having a tremendous amount of thought on this subject and accounting best practices, this money belongs back in the general revenue account and then budgeted in next year's cycle in full transparency of where it's going.
So,
Fine.
and that's fine. I appreciate that comment.
Okay.
So Catherine, does that mean we're going to table this one too?
Yeah,
Or
I guess we're gonna,
someone-
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
agree to table?
Yeah, I think we're going to table that one. Okay. Agenda item 11, a resolution authorizing disbursement of the Anderson Mill West Beautification Fund to pay for attorney's fees incurred by Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association in connection with cause Linda Fobb and Matt Fobb against WTCMUD1 and the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association. Okay. So this is, okay, I will go ahead and make a resolution.
It's a motion.
Okay, I move that we accept the resolution as presented for Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so let's go ahead and, is there any discussion that we want to make?
Yeah, I want to know why this one doesn't have the same restrictions as everybody else's, where it can only be used for deed enforcement or to pay for their manager. This one, you're allowing it to pay for legal fees, for heaven's sakes.
Well,
That
yeah,
should be full amount.
yeah, let me explain what was intended by this resolution. It's very different from the others. First of all, it's not the balance of the account. The balance in this account is a little over $13,000, I believe, presently. The money is not being paid to the association. We're going to be, if approved, this money is paid directly to the attorneys that to which the association owes money. Secondly, this deals with a pending lawsuit in which the district is an actual defendant as well as the neighborhood association. So these restrictions are not really restrictions on the association per se. There are restrictions on where these funds are going to go directly from the district. But I have conditions on there that are somewhat similar in that, in addition, they have to agree to this distribution going to the attorneys. And if they are reimbursed, either by agreement or judgment, should they collect this amount, the association collect this amount, then they agree to return those amounts to the district, and those amounts will go back in the Anderson Mill West Beautification Fund. My concern there was I didn't want to have the district pay from the beautification fund to these attorneys for the legal bills, and then subsequently have the association recover those amounts, maybe in the lawsuit or by agreement, and essentially have the benefit of the money that really should come back to the district and be in this fund. So it is a significantly different resolution, and also attached to it is the correspondence from Melvin Alec, who's the current board president of the Neighbor Association, and detail on the invoices that are involved.
Did you offer a surety to Richards, Rodriguez, and Skeeth that the MUD would pay these fees if M1 did not?
No,
You did not offer a surety?
no,
You did not?
I did not, no. And it's my position that the MUD is not obligated to the law firm to pay the share of Anderson West Neighborhood Association.
Then why would they?
Well, it's stated in the resolution. Why, you're asking me, why would the MUD pay these legal fees out of the beautification fund?
Why would the MUD pay the legal fees of a nonprofit association that has no link to the MUD other than they're just, you know, a social organization in the district? Why would the MUD be paying their legal fees at all?
I'll try to explain it to you and the rest of the board briefly. So we're in a situation here where a lawsuit's been filed against the district and the neighborhood association. It pertains to the existence of the Architectural Control Committee in Andersonville West, whether it's legal, whether it was legally, the members were legally appointed, whether it has any legal standing whatsoever. And also the petition is filed against the district and is critical and seeking judgments against some of the procedures and rules followed by the district and some of the district powers. So there is jointly concerns about matters that relate to deed restriction enforcement. Here, the neighborhood association has funds in its beautification fund that we have designated as proper use of deed restriction enforcement purposes. And all of these distributions have been that way in the past. Clearly supporting the neighborhood association in this lawsuit that concerns deed restriction benefits the district's deed restriction process. That's my opinion. I know, Linda, you'll have a different opinion because you have a different opinion in the lawsuit.
I do, and I think that my lawsuit benefits the public interest far greater. So I realize that I cannot vote on this, and I will voluntarily recuse myself from a vote. But I believe what's in the best interest of the public and the extension of the oath I took when I became the MUD director is to do what is right for constituents, which is why I did not drop my lawsuit when I was elected. It has been lodged in an effort to keep the private business entity M1 from operating an ACC that tells neighbors who haven't chosen to be members how to live on their properties and be involved in deed enforcement issues. I do not stand to personally benefit from this case in any way, as I have never incurred a deed enforcement fine or even had a letter telling me how to live on my property by anyone. My case simply seeks to get a judge to look over the situation and decide if the oversight has been forced upon neighbors by M1 is legally grounded, and of course payment of my legal fees if the judge does indeed rule in favor of my neighbors. Regardless of the fact that the case is what I deem to be in the best interest of the public and not me personally, I still think it would be inappropriate to vote in this situation because it is my name on the lawsuit, and voting to spend public money for a bill that has my name on it screams of public funds for self-interest. And I say that because if you look at the invoices and the contract, there are many names of board members on all of those documents. So I think after what I read in my bill and invoice and your duty as with the oath, then I really want you to seriously consider when you vote on this, because to me, Bill, it looks like embezzlement.
Linda, that is exactly the kind of statement that if you posted on social media would be objectionable. Because you criticized the board of a crime, a criminal offense, like it's absolute.
Well,
So,
I am saying,
I
it is
object,
my opinion.
I object to your statement.
Okay.
And I appreciate your explanation on why you're not going to vote on this. And I respectfully disagree with most everything you said regarding your lawsuit, because I don't agree with those statements. And Catherine, I guess we can move forward this.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call the vote. So Beth,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
and I vote yes too. Okay. Okay, so agenda number 12, utilization of beautification funds to pay for the district deed restriction enforcement expenses. Now, there's no resolution. Did I miss a resolution, an attachment for this, Bill?
No, so this was
Okay.
we tried to put everything on this agenda that might have an action or was requested in the past. And I believe that the suggestion by Linda was that perhaps this money should be used to pay, sage management or attorney fees on deed restrictions. So I put it on here for discussion. I've not prepared any document. And
Okay.
in fact, the district through its board can use that money for any purpose at any time. So whether you say, I want to vote to use it to pay sage management or attorney fees on deed restriction, or I want to pay it for park improvements, you have the right to use that money however you decide to use it. So Linda, I think this was on here at your suggestion. Am I correct?
Now that I've thought better of it, I think it just needs to go back into the general revenue. It needs to be in budgeted like all other money.
Okay.
And rather than trying to identify it, it will be used for deed enforcement. Because what if we don't have deed enforcement? Then this money's going to sit out there waiting for that obligation. So I think in the interest of transparency, all revenue collected, all public funds that come into this district need to go into general revenue and then budgeted appropriately so that the people of this district can see where this money goes.
Okay.
And let me tell all of you so that there will be no surprise, I am going to make it clear to the residents of this neighborhood that the MUD board is paying Amwana's legal fees, because you heard them dial in and you've heard 30 of them before Lewis resigned. They don't want the MUDs, they don't want their tax dollars paying other people's legal fees. They've made that abundantly clear. So that is not, don't get mad. You voted for it, you need to stand by it. They'll know and you'll deal with the fallout.
Okay, agenda
Linda,
item.
I don't like being threatened every
Not a
time
threat,
I make a vote.
promise.
It's a threat, Linda. You're not going to
You
manipulate
threatened
me
us
into
every
voting
time.
differently because you're threatening me, telling me that if I vote a certain way, it's going to look like a criminal act. That if I vote a certain way, you're going to make sure the public hears about it based on your interpretation of what happened. I don't like it. It's disrespectful, it's unprofessional, it's vindictive, and it's self-serving. And I don't like it.
And I feel exactly the same way by your vote. So we'll let the law figure it out, okay? We'll let the law figure it out.
Okay, so agenda item 13, contract with Janny King. We've already discussed this, correct?
Yeah, well, I've been told there's no action on it tonight. I think this relates to the contract itself, not payment. And
okay.
what I heard tonight was we might be getting some other proposals as well, something like that.
Okay.
17.
Okay, agenda item 14, minutes from prior regular meetings and special meetings, reconsider for minutes previously approved with oral revisions. Now, is
you have December 16 was attached. It's 20 pages.
Yes.
And you went into the next day on the meeting after midnight.
Okay, so that's yeah. So
It's a long document. I read it.
Okay, I did too, and I have a question about page 11, agenda item 9, where we were talking about a lawsuit against Diana Sagnis, and it's like there is no lawsuit with Diana Sagnis. What was that about?
It was about an open records request from Rose Green, who had asked for something about a lawsuit.
Yeah. I think it probably was a comment in that context where the resident assumed that there was a lawsuit like that and was requesting the document. And, of course, our response would be there's no such thing. I don't think it was something that a board member asserted. I think it's part of that discussion.
I can
open
clarify
records.
that in the
Okay,
minutes.
yeah.
Okay, so is this gonna go to the Attorney General or not? Does it require a decision by the Attorney General?
Okay,
Not on this. Art, what we're describing is that a resident, and we don't need to be saying the name tonight.
Okay.
A resident has made a request and mistakenly had heard or thought that there was a pending lawsuit against our contractor individually. And the fact is that we're not aware of anything like that. So in open records context, the response is we don't have any records like that.
okay,
So
okay.
it doesn't go to the Attorney General.
Okay. Now I feel better because I'm going, what the heck was that all about? So how do we clarify that? Were you able to make a clarification there, Lee?
I'll just say that it was involving an open records request regarding Ms. Sagnes, and a resident thought that there was a lawsuit against her that does not exist.
Okay.
So that's how I'll reword it, if that's okay.
Okay. That does that work for you, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or corrections on the minutes?
Yeah, there's a lot of corrections. Ready,
Okay.
Lee? Agenda item 3, report from the district engineer, bullet 9. Sidewalk repairs at Sunchase Park. Those aren't repairs. That's new construction in the Sunchase Pond or Madeline Loop Pond. It's not in the park. And it's not complete. It's out for bid now. The motion in this agenda item needs to identify what project was approved to be let for bid. It doesn't say, it just says there was a project approved and it doesn't identify it. Was it the sidewalk in the Sunchase Pond? Was it the line repairs? What was it? The infrastructure committee should be able to identify what project they motioned for an approval on. It's agenda item 3. On agenda item 4, Megan Dudo asked to proceed to agenda items 22 and 23. Correct the motion for additional services, trash can oversight in the amount of $320 for Sage. It says the check will not be released at this time. However, the check was released at that time. So that statement is not accurate. Director Jones noted that she'd been told not to provide detailed information on her form by an unnamed person. She never said her form had been rejected by the previous Billing and Invoice Committee. They always approved checks and never questioned them. The director's checks were released with 5 requests for fees of office held for Jana, Beth, and Chris Rocco due to incomplete, inaccurate recording. Not all the checks were held, not all their fees of office as recorded. Agenda item 11, I do not have a friend at the AG's office. I offered to contact the AG's attorney that was handling the case the MUD brought against the AG. Agenda item 6, 4 directors' checks were removed and replaced with, and then you can get Michael to fill in that blank. Double check the check register amount though, because he did pay some, so that amount is not accurate. Agenda item 15, Verdunity did not charge $800 to sit in on meetings. Herb did. I said that all project costs need to be recorded against the park plan capital improvement project, including Herb's participation costs. And that's everything I found on the minutes that need changing, that need correcting.
All right, thank you. I'll make those changes.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bill, should we wait for those changes to come through and, or can we approve them as corrected?
Here's what we've done historically is we've approved them with the corrections. And then Lee, I don't know if you've been through this, but after you make the corrections, they should be in the next packet. So they'll be approved. They could be signed, but they'll be in the next packet. And then we always have this clause on the minutes that says reconsideration of minutes previously approved with oral revisions. So we're approving it and you can go ahead and make those revisions and they're approved, but we can reconsider the document with the revisions because we had so many oral revisions, we can actually reconsider that. We used to do that almost on a regular basis years ago because there were so many corrections. So Lee, we could vote to approve them as indicated with the oral corrections, and they should come back for review by the board to make sure everything was caught.
I
Okay,
think we should look them over first, don't you?
You could delay approval. You can, that's an option you can do now is tell Lee to redo them and bring them back at the next meeting. You just have to tell me which meeting. That's all.
well, why don't we just put them on the February 3 meeting?
Okay.
Hopefully that'll be a quick thing to do, is to approve those on February 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's
All
do
right.
that.
Okay. Okay, so 15.
Before you go to 15, and I'll be real quick here.
Yeah.
When I worked and we did minutes, even though sometimes there would be a long delay between meetings to approve minutes, we would the secretary would always deliver the first draft within 5 days of a meeting, because you won't remember all the details a month later. So I would like to suggest that we receive the minutes individually 5 days after a meeting, and then we send back corrections directly to Lee, and then she presents the corrected, accurate minutes for a full board approval at the next meeting. I mean, these are December 16th minutes, and it's January 27th. I don't want to have to go back and rewatch meetings just to get the minutes right. And it would be one way to do it, with the caveat that there's no discussion. Just remember what you can, help Lee get it right. And that way, when she presents it, we will all have looked at it and they will be right. Any reason we can do that?
No,
you can certainly do that. Keep in mind on the timing this time, we had almost a 7-hour meeting. So I'm sure that's why you didn't get them earlier.
Well, normally they're held anyways until the next meeting.
Yeah, I agree. We can change that. We can change it. And you don't need a board vote necessarily. Lee, you can get the minutes to the board for comments, and do not talk to other directors about this. Do not include them on your emails. Just give your comments, and then Lee can incorporate those before it comes to the board for a vote. And yes, Linda's correct. That is done in other governmental entities to speed things along.
And to be able to remember what
actually
transpired.
Yes, of course. Yes, I agree.
Okay, so agenda item 15, district's authority to enforce deed restriction pursuant to section 54.237. This was addressed in executive session. Agenda item 16, district rate order, application of partial payments. This was addressed in executive session. 17, 18, 19, and 20 were all addressed in executive session. Agenda item 21, future board meetings. Do we have anything that we need to get onto the agenda for this going to be posted tomorrow?
Yeah, so if you go home and you think of something, send me an email in the morning. We'll try to see if we can accommodate it. I think I've heard the comments tonight on what items should be on there. So in the morning, I'll add them. And Catherine, if the timing is such, I'll make sure that you get to look at it before I post it. But any individual board member that has an item that they really believe needs to be on the February 3rd agenda, let me know. We will be putting the audit on there. And we'll also put the ones we discussed tonight at the meeting. But if there's something else, please let me know tomorrow.
So just as a reminder for me real quick, what do we know that's on the audit?
Audit, minutes. I think we had some things that are going to go to the 17th.
Right.
Catherine, I think you had an item that you gave me via email. I have it in front.
Yeah.
Same thing. You can look at that.
Yeah.
I think those are the only ones we talked about tonight, unless someone else needs or something.
Okay.
Put some parameters on it as a board, because I mean, I don't know that everyone's going to flood Bill's email box by tomorrow morning with ideas of stuff to stick on there. But, you know, I'm a little mentally tired and it would be really helpful if I could just focus on the audit for that meeting, since I'm on that committee. And, you know, if there's a whole lot of other stuff on that agenda, I think it's just, you know, my preference is just that we focus on the audit.
Yeah, and that was the original intent. And so I'm sure it'll be rather limited. We will do the audit first.
Yes.
Obviously, the auditor will be there, so we'll do the audit first after public comments, and then whatever else is on there.
Okay. Okay, so agenda item 22, somebody make a motion to adjourn the meeting. I make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, everyone say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I will see you guys in a week.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.